and income and unhappiness when we're not acting together. So anyways,
I agree with you, but I couldn't stop you and interject because you were saying so many beautiful things. They need to be heard, they need to be expressed. And I agree with just everything you said, from from using our beauty regimens and self-care to help us to feel empowered so that we can go after whatever it is that we want in life, to being aware of what we need to be doing in our lives to just move forward and get out of our ego and accept being a beginner, because we're always a student and we're always a teacher, right? Like, there's just so many more things. I mean, Diana, what do you think about everything she was saying?
I just wanted to add, like, I am right now in a third world country, and exactly, I think that empowerment, that privilege, we all have it. Like, we all, like, living beings, we all have that privilege, and we all have that power. And that, what you just said, is super important because it's empowering, and it's sometimes it takes for us to leave the pride, or at least that's my biggest, like, test, like, to down my pride and then be able to actually act, as you said, like, loving myself. And that is such an important, like, magical thing that we can do for ourselves, just act as if everything was good, just act as if we were, like, like, that quality state of mind. And that's super important to me.
Well, I think too, what was I going to say is you're right in terms of we all have privileges in our own way. I think being born is actually a privilege. And even if you had a disability, we've got to look at where our privileges and who says it? It's somebody says, like, abundance is our birthright. The moment that we are born, there is some sort of abundance, but the only way we can increase the quality of life is to see the beauty that exists. However, for those that, who have had, like, one shitty thing happen after the other, it is difficult for them to see where the beauty lies. It is. And we've got to kind of accept that. And they've got to accept it, is that, you know what, you had a shitty pile of cards that were handed to you. But the reality here is, what can you do now to not be the victim and to shift it? So what can you do to better your relationships or to better anything? And I think a lot of times people don't take accountability. So I think that there is something to be said about seeing the things that you don't like. You have to actually acknowledge them in order for anything to shift, and you have to acknowledge in order to let go. You can't let go of things unless you acknowledge what you were given that you don't like, and then think about how you can shift it. Everyone has something they can work on, but I think a lot of people don't want to look at it. They don't have to look. They shouldn't look at it as a bad thing either. They should look at it as, how do I improve the quality of my life, but also the quality of everybody else around me? How do I improve the quality of their lives by starting with myself and by improving my own life? I think that's huge there, is starting with the individual person and looking at what we can do with our own individual privilege. We're privileged in so many different ways, and everybody, you're right, everybody has some sense of privilege, some more than others. But I think, it's funny, the company that I work for, they allowed me to recently do a presentation. I had the honor of partnering with someone called Sean Snell for the diversity and inclusion department. And we did a presentation on allyship. And we talked about, let's be honest, Chanel's a company where a lot of people are privileged to still have their jobs, to be wearing Chanel, to be getting the discount and what have you, and to be looking bougie. Like, it's a privilege. But we also can't shame people for being born into privilege, but what are they going to do with that privilege to help others and to raise the voices of others that aren't heard? So I think that with everything we've been through, that it's our responsibility as human beings to keep being aware, keep being aware within ourselves, but also to promote awareness so that we are living better lives together. We can have fun, but I think that just to step out of automation and to step into more conscious behavior, and there's moments where I'm like, oh God, I feel like the more awake I become or the more aware I become, sometimes I'm like the weirdo. But again, it goes back to, you can't care what other people are thinking, I mean,
never that. I just posted something on my Instagram at Creativity that was about authenticity. And it is so important because it sometimes feels like the whole world is trying to tell you not to be who you are, to try to suppress yourself in some way so that you can conform to what society deems is beautiful or successful or whatever. And it is so, I'm like you, Twee, as I'm getting older, I just do not give a fuck. Oh, I forgot to mention, if you're not 18, click off. If you don't like strong language, click off. And we may not, we may not agree with everything that our guests say, but we believe in their right to express their opinion. So, and as a veteran, I fought for that right. So everybody has it when they come to my show. So those are my disclaimers. I forgot to say them. There they are. But like I said, I don't give a fuck. At this point, I am just going to do me and just live in my authentic truth. And you can love it or not like it. If you don't like it, you click off, you scroll off, or you just don't talk to me anymore. That's fine. When I was younger, I cared so much what other people thought that it was like a miserable experience to be me, because I spent too much time caring what other people thought. And older I got, like probably around 17 or 18, I started to shed that. And more and more throughout the course of my life to this point, honey, I give zero fucks what anyone thinks about anything, about the way I look, speak, anything.
I will say this, though. I do care if I truly respect and I trust the person, because sometimes in development, honestly, I feel blessed to say that through my cosmetic career, I did have some really, really hardcore mentors where they were really raw and they were, Eastern European women who gave it to you straight. And I remember one of them told me, like, Twee, you're more than a pretty face. Like, you can't just stand there and look pretty. You got to make it happen. I looked at her like, oh my, what did she just say to me? And so I went out there and I showed her that I can sell, and we had a killer day. And it was my, from that moment on, I kind of changed my mindset, and I was like, actually, she needed to say that to me. And I do care what people I trust say. And I care when I know that they care. I care when I know that they care enough to give me feedback that is honest and real so that I could better myself. So the reality sometimes too is legit. Yeah, we can't live in delusion either. And that's my point of not giving a fuck if that person's really, you don't know them that well, then who cares?
Sometimes even people you do know well, it could even be family sometimes whose opinion that you have to set aside and just continue to do you. But I do agree with you. There are some people that that they care about you and they want the best for you. Then of course you're going to care to that extent. But really, it's also up to you to decide how you're going to feel about that feedback, right? The feedback you got that pushed you to do your best sales day could have done the exact opposite for you and sort of completely demoralized you and made you perform even worse. So it's all in, who you are and how you are, and also the person and their intention. Because I think intention, it has a lot to do with whether I'm going to care what you think or say to me. Also,
I'm glad that you bring up intention, and it's like I had a conversation 2 years ago. I did a talk at a nonprofit, organization, and we kind of discussed the difference between intention and goal setting, right? So goal setting is something that it's more specific, whereas an intention is really your why, and it has to do with the way you really want to feel. So an example of that could be, maybe your goal is to lose 10 pounds. But what is your why? Your intention is so that I could be more healthy, to take care of my family, so that I can live longer, so I could be healthier, so I can function longer, so that I can run, so I can play with my kids. That's a true intention. So if we continue to wake up every morning to practice intention and to keep the intention top of mind and to align our intention with our actions and our behavior, that's where we win. But that's not the easiest. Like, I have to say, for a long time, I would have these intentions, but my old behaviors would start stepping in, and it's difficult to reshift. But the more you practice awareness, that's when you're like, okay, I see you. I see you coming in, and I see you wanting to do, to take over Twee's body. But I see you and I get why you're doing it. But don't worry, we got this. We're stepping forward. Maybe I'll use you later for something else. But like, I think that as long as we are embracing intention to the fullest, and we say what we intend to do, and we understand what our truths are behind the intentions, then we'll win. But I think, again, that's a hard thing to do. People throw that word out like it's, I don't know, like it's going out of style, and it should be taken a little bit more seriously, and seriously in the way that it'll bring more value to your life and to the lives of everyone else that reaches your orbit. You know what I mean? Like, you look at some people, and I feel bad for the ones who are just so miserable, but they're also, it's this cascade effect of the misery that you start to attract as well. You can shift out of that. So even if you're going through a depressive state or whatever, it's just one small thing at a time,
Yeah, it's amazing that she's talking about attraction, because I was just thinking about the inner beauty, right? And you're promoting the inner beauty, and the inner beauty is also, it comes from the spirit, which is invisible, which is like in every religion, it's like the no name for it, right? It's like the all power, the everything. And the body is just a reflection of that we create for ourselves. So actually, like, it doesn't matter, like, if we give a fuck or we don't give a fuck. What matters is that we feel satisfied with what we're thinking, doing, feeling, I don't know, like saying every moment of our lives, because that's what we are going to attract in others and in ourselves, right? Like, that's what we are going to express.
That takes work, though. That takes work.
Yeah,
it takes work for a lot of people, but I'm with you. I feel like, we're born with these spirits, and our body basically houses it. So it's like, do the best of what you're given. And the idea of like, and I'm not like trying to, mine's more like, I feel like it's like a solid type of beauty. So inner and outer. Like there's such thing, they call it, what do they call it? They call it in-clothed cognition. So it's when you dress the part, you suddenly start acting the part. And it's like, when you wear Chanel perfume, it makes you want to suck in your stomach a little bit more and stand up a little bit taller and be proud. And, and it's like, there's something to be said about when you try your best for the body, for whatever that you're given, and you solidify, and you just try. Each day you try a little bit harder, but it's for you. It's not for anybody else. It's for you, and maybe for the people that you love around you. And once you start to get results too, and the reality here is, as human beings, we need to start seeing results in ourselves, in the society, just period. But, so results really do breed more results. So if we, and Kia, you're good at it. You're a success coach. So the idea there is like to get people to feel the results, but to understand what their intentions behind those results are. There have been moments, like I said, where I was so task oriented that I was driving, but I forgot what the intention was. And it's like, I drove so far, and I'm like, oh, wait a second. Why did I go on this journey to begin with? And as long as we can continue to remind ourselves, and for some people it's more difficult than others. Me, one of them for sure, because my old self moves at 180 miles per hour. My new self moves at 120 with intention.
I feel that. And it's exactly right what you said about needing results, right? So the DeFi Academy is the new sort of section of London Real Academy.